You must be the new executive assistant.
Yes, Vanessa Williams.
Well, welcome to the company, Vanessa.
Thank you, sir. I won't disappoint you.
Daniel Adebayo was admired by everyone who knew his name. His company towers rose across the city skyline, and his success stories filled business magazines every month. At home, however, his marriage to Amaka had grown quiet and distant. They still shared the same roof, but their conversations had become brief and mechanical. Friends believed they were the perfect couple, always smiling at events and holding hands for photographs. No one noticed the silence that followed them home each night, or the loneliness hidden behind their polished public image and rehearsed laughter. Amaka often sat by the balcony watching city lights flicker, while Daniel answered endless work calls. She remembered the early years when they struggled together and celebrated every small victory with joy. Now wealth had changed their rhythm, replacing shared dreams with separate routines. Daniel believed success required sacrifice, but he never realized he was sacrificing connection. Amaka tried initiating conversations, but he dismissed them gently, promising tomorrow would be different. Tomorrow rarely came, and the emotional gap between them slowly widened without loud arguments or visible fights, only quiet disappointment. One evening, Daniel returned home later than usual, smelling of unfamiliar perfume and carrying a distracted expression. Amaka noticed immediately, but chose silence instead of confrontation. She believed trust should not be demanded, but naturally given. Daniel mistook her calmness for ignorance and continued drifting further away. The house remained peaceful, yet the peace felt fragile, like glass ready to crack. Neither of them knew that this silence was the beginning of a storm that would soon unfold publicly, leaving no room for denial or quiet endurance anymore. Vanessa entered Daniel's life through the company as a confident executive assistant with bold opinions and fearless charm. She spoke with admiration whenever Daniel shared his business ideas, making him feel understood and appreciated. Her compliments came easily, and her laughter filled empty spaces Daniel no longer noticed at home. Colleagues observed their growing closeness, but dismissed it as professional chemistry. Daniel convinced himself it was harmless attention, yet he began looking forward to conversations with her more than returning home each evening to familiar silence. Lunch meetings became longer, and late-night work sessions turned personal. Vanessa shared stories of ambition and independence that fascinated Daniel. She praised his leadership and encouraged his risk-taking decisions, feeding his ego in subtle ways. Daniel felt energized around her, mistaking admiration for emotional support. Meanwhile, Amaka sensed changes in his tone and habits, noticing how his phone remained locked and always nearby. She chose patience instead of suspicion, hoping the distance was temporary and trusting the foundation they had built through years of shared struggles. Rumors began circulating among staff, but Daniel ignored them confidently. Vanessa enjoyed the attention and subtly encouraged the whispers, believing visibility strengthened her position. Daniel reassured himself that public perception did not matter as long as his intentions felt controlled. However, emotional lines had already blurred beyond recognition. What began as admiration slowly transformed into attachment, neither of them openly acknowledged. The workplace atmosphere shifted, and subtle glances replaced professional boundaries, setting the stage for a decision that would soon move from private corridors into bright public lights. The company anniversary approached, promising a grand celebration filled with investors, journalists, and influential guests. Preparations consumed Daniel's attention, while Vanessa insisted he should reveal his true happiness during the event. Amaka, unaware of Vanessa's influence, selected a modest, elegant dress and prepared to stand beside her husband proudly. She believed appearances mattered less than loyalty, yet she still wanted to honor his achievements. The city buzzed with excitement, and invitations spread across elite circles. turning the upcoming night into a spectacle everyone anticipated with curiosity and admiration. During rehearsals, Vanessa stayed close to Daniel, offering suggestions and encouragement that gradually felt controlling. She spoke confidently about public perception and authenticity, subtly pushing him toward bold declarations. Daniel felt flattered by her certainty and overlooked the risks of emotional exposure. At home, Amaka noticed his growing restlessness but remained supportive, wishing him success at the event. She ironed his suit carefully and wished him confidence, unaware that the stage he was preparing for would soon become the place where her dignity would be tested before strangers and flashing cameras. The night arrived with dazzling lights and loud applause. Daniel stood between both women, feeling pressure and excitement mixing inside him. Vanessa's confident smile contrasted Amaka's calm grace, creating a silent tension visible only to observant eyes. When Daniel lifted the microphone, the hall fell silent, expecting gratitude and celebration. Instead, his words shifted direction toward Vanessa, praising her presence publicly. Gasps echoed across the room, while Amaka remained still, absorbing humiliation quietly. That single moment changed the direction of their lives forever, sealing choices that applause could not undo. Amaka left the event without confrontation, returning home to pack a small suitcase with steady hands. She took personal belongings and memories that held emotional value, leaving luxury behind without hesitation. Daniel returned later, expecting anger or tears, but found only empty rooms and quiet walls. Her silence unsettled him more than arguments ever could. Vanessa celebrated the public declaration, believing victory was complete, unaware that emotional victories often carry hidden costs. The house that once felt warm now echoed with absence, turning success into an unfamiliar and uncomfortable feeling. Vanessa moved into Daniel's penthouse quickly, filling spaces with expensive decor and constant social gatherings. The excitement initially distracted Daniel from reflection, but noise could not replace genuine peace. Parties replaced quiet dinners, and laughter replaced meaningful conversations. Daniel began feeling exhausted instead of fulfilled, yet pride prevented him from admitting regret. Meanwhile, Amaka focused on rebuilding her independence quietly, choosing growth over bitterness. Her days became structured and purposeful, contrasting Daniel's increasingly chaotic routine filled with appearances rather than emotional stability or sincere companionship. Business challenges soon surfaced, linked to risky partnerships Vanessa encouraged. Investors questioned decisions, and financial pressure grew unexpectedly. Vanessa responded with frustration instead of support, criticizing Daniel's leadership and distancing herself emotionally. The confidence that once attracted him now felt demanding and draining. Nights grew quieter again, but this time filled with worry rather than peace. Daniel began remembering Amaka's calm advice and steady presence, realizing he had underestimated loyalty. Regret slowly replaced excitement, whispering uncomfortable truths that pride could no longer silence or easily ignore. Vanessa eventually left the country under the excuse of needing space, abandoning Daniel during his most stressful period. The penthouse felt larger and emptier than ever before. Wealth surrounded him, yet comfort remained absent. He replayed memories of Amaka's patience and unwavering belief in him during difficult beginnings. Applause from the anniversary night now sounded distant and meaningless in his thoughts. Daniel finally understood that admiration fades quickly, but loyalty leaves lasting impressions. The realization arrived quietly, without drama, but carried a weight heavier than public humiliation ever could. Determined to seek closure, Daniel searched for Amaka and eventually found her managing a small interior design studio. She appeared confident and peaceful, her independence evident in every gesture. Their conversation remained respectful yet firm. Daniel apologized sincerely, acknowledging his mistakes and public pride. Amaka listened without anger, expressing forgiveness but not reconciliation. Her strength surprised him, revealing growth he had not expected. She had transformed pain into progress, proving that dignity could survive betrayal and emerge stronger without revenge or bitterness guiding her path forward. Daniel returned home carrying a lesson deeper than regret. He realized public choices often chase applause, while private consequences demand reflection and accountability. The silence in his penthouse no longer felt empty but instructive, reminding him of decisions made without foresight. He understood that excitement can blind judgment, and loyalty should never be underestimated. Though success remained, peace required humility and wisdom he had learned too late. The memory of that bright stage stayed with him forever, not as triumph, but as a reminder that pride can cost more than wealth ever replaces. Days turned into weeks, and Daniel struggled to adjust to the routine of living alone again. The penthouse remained spotless, yet the silence inside it felt heavier each evening. He tried filling the emptiness with work, extending meetings, and approving projects late into the night. Colleagues praised his dedication, unaware that he was avoiding reflection. Every quiet moment reminded him of past choices and missed conversations. Success still followed him publicly, but privately he felt disconnected, realizing that achievement without emotional stability often brings a strange and lingering loneliness. Meanwhile, Amaka Studio gained attention through referrals and satisfied clients who admired her creativity. She poured her energy into designs, finding comfort in building beautiful spaces for others. Friends noticed her renewed confidence and calm demeanor. Though memories of her marriage occasionally resurfaced, she refused to let pain define her progress. She embraced independence without bitterness, choosing focus over regret. Each completed project strengthened her belief that life could continue meaningfully after disappointment, proving resilience grows quietly when determination replaces resentment and patience guides every new decision. Daniel occasionally scrolled through social media late at night, noticing Amaka's growing success through shared posts and tag photos. He felt a mix of pride and regret, emotions he could not easily separate. He realized she had not waited for validation or sympathy, but instead rebuilt her identity independently. The awareness humbled him more than public criticism ever had. He began understanding that losing someone's presence also means losing the quiet encouragement they once offered daily. Lessons learned only after absence transforms appreciation into reflection, and reflection into unavoidable emotional clarity. Business pressures intensified as investors demanded clearer strategies and stronger leadership decisions. Daniel found himself facing challenges he once navigated confidently with Amaka's steady encouragement. Meetings became tense, and negotiations required patience he struggled to maintain. His executives sensed uncertainty, though none spoke about it openly. The confidence he displayed publicly felt forced, masking internal doubt. Each challenge reminded him that emotional support often strengthens professional success more than ambition alone, a truth he had overlooked while chasing admiration instead of valuing the quiet partnership he once possessed. Amaka, unaware of Daniel's struggles, focused entirely on expanding her studio operations. She hired a small team and introduced new design concepts that attracted corporate clients. Her independence no longer felt like recovery. It felt natural and empowering. She developed routines centered on growth rather than remembrance. Occasionally, memories surfaced, but they no longer carried sharp pain. Instead, they served as reminders of lessons learned and boundaries strengthened. Her progress demonstrated that moving forward does not erase the past, but it transforms its influence into guidance rather than emotional weight. Daniel attempted reaching out through mutual friends, asking casually about Amaka's well-being. Their responses were polite but distant, offering little detail beyond her professional success. He sensed an invisible boundary protecting her privacy, one he had no right to cross easily. The realization deepened his respect and regret simultaneously. He understood that reconciliation required more than apologies. It demanded genuine change and acceptance of consequences. For the first time, he questioned whether seeking forgiveness was for her peace or merely to ease his own conscience and lingering emotional discomfort. A major contract opportunity arose, promising to restore Daniel's company reputation. The project demanded focus, collaboration, and careful planning. Determined to succeed, he immersed himself fully, channeling regret into productivity. Long hours returned, but this time they felt purposeful rather than avoidant. His team noticed renewed clarity in his decisions, and confidence gradually resurfaced. However, beneath professional progress remained a quiet awareness that business victories could not repair personal mistakes. Achievement provided momentum, yet emotional accountability still lingered, reminding him that external success rarely replaces internal peace completely. Amaka received an invitation to design interiors for a luxury hotel renovation, marking a significant milestone in her career. The opportunity excited her, validating years of quiet dedication. She approached the project with confidence and creativity, inspiring her small team. Clients admired her professionalism and calm leadership. Her days filled with constructive energy, leaving little room for lingering sorrow. She no longer viewed her past as failure, but as transformation, recognizing that painful chapters sometimes redirect individuals toward paths aligned more closely with their authentic strengths and long-term fulfillment. News of Amaka's hotel project reached Daniel through industry conversations, stirring admiration he kept private. He realized her achievements were no longer connected to his influence, but to her independent talent. This recognition humbled him further, reminding him how easily he had underestimated her resilience. He resisted the urge to contact her immediately, choosing reflection instead of impulse. Growth, he learned, sometimes requires silent acknowledgement rather than public gestures. The distance between them remained. Yet within that distance grew a deeper understanding of respect, accountability, and personal responsibility. Daniel's company secured the major contract after weeks of intense negotiations, restoring investor confidence and stabilizing operations. Celebrations filled the office, and employees applauded his leadership once again. Yet Daniel felt different this time. The applause sounded quieter in his mind. He appreciated the achievement but understood its limits. Success now felt like responsibility rather than validation. He recognized that professional victories could strengthen reputation, but they could not rewrite emotional history. The realization guided him toward humility, reminding him that growth involves learning from both triumphs and personal failures. Amaka completed the first phase of her hotel design project, earning praise from clients and industry professionals. The recognition motivated her further, reinforcing her belief in consistent effort. She celebrated quietly with her team, valuing shared progress over public attention. Her confidence grew naturally, supported by tangible results rather than external approval. Though memories of her past occasionally surfaced, they no longer influenced her decisions. She had built a life centered on creativity and independence, proving that healing often occurs through purposeful action rather than prolonged reflection or emotional confrontation. Daniel drafted a message to Amaka several times, but hesitated before sending it. Each attempt revealed uncertainty about his intentions and expectations. He questioned whether reopening communication would bring closure or disturb her peace. This hesitation marked genuine change. Previously, he acted impulsively, without considering consequences. Now he understood that respect sometimes means allowing distance. The unsent message remained saved on his phone, symbolizing his internal shift from pride to patience, from entitlement to accountability, and from seeking validation to valuing the emotional boundaries he once ignored. Months passed with both Daniel and Amaka progressing separately, their lives moving forward along different paths. Daniel maintained professional stability while cultivating personal reflection, learning to balance ambition with emotional awareness. The penthouse felt less empty, not because memories disappeared, but because understanding replaced regret. He began appreciating solitude as an opportunity for growth rather than punishment. His routine evolved into healthier habits, demonstrating that change does not occur instantly, but gradually through consistent self-awareness and intentional decisions shaped by past experiences and present responsibility. Amaka's studio expanded further, attracting partnerships that elevated her brand beyond local recognition. She embraced new opportunities confidently, guided by experience rather than fear. Her independence no longer required proof, it simply existed. She valued relationships built on mutual respect and clear communication, refusing to repeat old patterns. Growth had reshaped her perspective, teaching her that dignity thrives when choices align with self-worth. The journey that began with quiet pain had transformed into purposeful direction, proving that resilience often grows stronger when nurtured through patience and constructive focus. Though their paths no longer intertwined, both Daniel and Amaka carried lessons from their shared past. Daniel learned that public pride can cloud judgment, while Amaka discovered strength beyond dependence. Their story did not end with reunion or revenge, but with individual transformation. The choices made under bright lights had shaped quieter, wiser futures. In separate spaces, they moved forward with clarity, understanding that life continues beyond mistakes. The applause that once influenced decisions faded, leaving behind a deeper appreciation for humility, self-respect, and the enduring value of thoughtful choices. One evening Daniel attended a high-profile business dinner where conversations revolved around growth and expansion. The room was filled with laughter, expensive suits, and confident voices, yet he felt strangely detached. Applause followed his short speech, but the excitement faded quickly once he sat down. He realized public admiration now felt temporary rather than fulfilling. The difference surprised him, reminding him how much his priorities had shifted. Instead of chasing louder praise, he found himself valuing quieter achievements, understanding that recognition without emotional balance often leaves a hollow feeling afterward. Across town, Amaka spent the same evening reviewing new design sketches with her small team. The atmosphere in her studio felt warm and collaborative, filled with creative energy rather than competition. She encouraged her assistants and celebrated small improvements, believing progress deserved acknowledgement regardless of scale. Her leadership style attracted loyalty and respect naturally. She noticed how teamwork strengthened results and relationships simultaneously. The simple satisfaction of shared effort reminded her that fulfillment does not always arrive with grand celebrations. Sometimes it grows through consistent cooperation and thoughtful appreciation of everyday contributions. Later that night, Daniel reflected on the dinner while scrolling through business updates on his phone. He noticed a feature article highlighting Amaka's recent project success and paused longer than expected. Pride mixed with humility, creating a quiet smile. He recognized her achievements as entirely her own, untouched by his past influence. Instead of regret, he felt respect. This emotional shift marked genuine growth, revealing that maturity involves celebrating others without attachment or expectation, appreciating progress from a distance, and acknowledging how shared histories can evolve into independent journeys guided by self-awareness. Daniel began mentoring younger entrepreneurs within his company, sharing lessons drawn from both victories and mistakes. He spoke openly about decision-making, accountability, and the importance of balance. Employees appreciated his honesty, noticing how his Leadership style had softened without losing authority. The mentorship sessions became popular, creating an environment where questions were welcomed rather than feared. Daniel discovered fulfillment in guiding others, realizing that influence grows stronger when built on sincerity. Teaching allowed him to transform past errors into constructive insight, turning personal experience into a resource that benefited others meaningfully. Amaka introduced a training program in her studio, offering internships to aspiring designers from modest backgrounds. She believed opportunities should be shared, not guarded. Watching young creatives learn and improve brought her genuine joy. Their enthusiasm reminded her of her own early ambitions, renewing her appreciation for the journey she had traveled. The studio atmosphere grew more vibrant as fresh ideas flowed freely. She realized that growth multiplies when knowledge is passed forward, and that empowering others often strengthens one's own confidence, while building communities rooted in encouragement and mutual respect. Though Daniel and Amaka remained unaware of each other's mentorship efforts, their parallel paths reflected similar growth. Both had shifted focus from personal validation to collective progress. Their choices demonstrated maturity shaped by experience rather than bitterness. The absence of rivalry or resentment revealed emotional healing neither had planned deliberately. Life moved forward quietly, guided by lessons learned through hardship. Their journeys illustrated how separate evolutions can mirror shared understanding, proving that transformation often occurs when individuals choose purpose over pride and contribution over competition, even without direct communication. A charity gala invitation arrived for Daniel, and he hesitated before accepting. Public events once energized him, but now he evaluated them carefully. He eventually attended, choosing simplicity over extravagance. Conversations felt lighter, and he focused on meaningful connections rather than status displays. Observers noticed his calmer presence and thoughtful responses. The evening passed without dramatic declarations or attention-seeking gestures. Daniel realized that confidence no longer required spectacle. His quiet composure reflected internal change, showing that personal growth often becomes visible through restraint rather than loud expressions or deliberate attempts to impress. Amaka also received invitations to industry gatherings, selecting only those aligned with her goals. She attended a design exhibition where her work received positive feedback from experienced professionals. Instead of seeking praise, she engaged in thoughtful discussions and exchanged ideas. Her confidence appeared natural, grounded in preparation rather than performance. She valued constructive dialogue more than compliments, recognizing that improvement thrives in environments of learning. Each event strengthened her network while preserving her authenticity, proving that professional presence can remain genuine when guided by purpose rather than pressure or external expectations. Though both navigated public spaces independently, their approaches revealed similar maturity. Neither pursued attention aggressively, and neither avoided visibility entirely. Balance replaced extremes, shaping interactions with intention. Their evolving perspectives illustrated how growth refines priorities rather than erasing ambition. They learned that presence does not require dominance, and that respect often emerges from consistency rather than charisma. The contrast between their past and present behaviors highlighted transformation built through reflection, reinforcing the understanding that life's lessons rarely disappear. Instead, they quietly influence every future decision made. Daniel faced a complex negotiation requiring patience and collaboration with international partners. Unlike earlier years, when urgency dominated his decisions, he approached discussions calmly, allowing space for mutual understanding. The shift surprised his colleagues, who recognized increased diplomacy in his tone. The agreement succeeded without tension, reinforcing his belief that thoughtful communication often yields stronger outcomes than aggressive tactics. He realized leadership evolves alongside emotional awareness, and that listening carefully can be more powerful than speaking loudly, especially when long-term relationships depend on trust rather than immediate victories. Amaka encountered a challenging client who frequently changed design preferences, testing her flexibility and composure. Instead of reacting defensively, she adapted with professionalism, presenting options and guiding decisions patiently. The project eventually succeeded, earning appreciation from the client who initially seemed difficult. The experience strengthened her confidence in handling pressure without losing clarity. She understood that adaptability does not weaken authority, it enhances it. Each resolved challenge reinforced her belief that emotional stability and practical solutions create stronger professional reputations than rigid control or impulsive responses. These separate professional challenges reinforced similar lessons for both Daniel and Amaka. Patience replaced haste, and collaboration replaced confrontation. Their growth revealed how emotional intelligence shapes effective leadership regardless of industry. Though unaware of each other's experiences, their parallel developments demonstrated shared understanding gained through past hardship. Life no longer revolved around proving worth publicly. It centered on building reliability privately. Their evolving approaches reflected maturity, grounded in self-awareness, showing that the most significant changes often occur quietly within daily responsibilities rather than dramatic turning points. An unexpected rainstorm one evening left Daniel watching the city from his window, reflecting on how much had changed within a year. The skyline looked the same, yet his perspective felt entirely different. Memories surfaced without pain, carrying lessons instead of regret. He recognized growth not as perfection, but as improved understanding. The quiet rhythm of rain mirrored his thoughts, steady and reflective. He realized that life rarely offers complete reversals, but it consistently provides opportunities to respond differently, shaping new paths through awareness rather than repeating familiar mistakes. Amaka experienced a similar reflective moment while closing her studio after a long day. The soft sound of rain against the windows created calmness rather than melancholy. She reviewed her progress mentally, acknowledging both struggles and achievements with equal honesty. Gratitude replaced lingering doubts, and confidence felt balanced rather than forced. She understood that independence was not isolation, but self-trust. The journey that began with uncertainty had evolved into clarity, proving that resilience grows gradually through acceptance, consistent effort, and the willingness to move forward without carrying unnecessary emotional weight. Though separated by distance and circumstance, Daniel and Amaka reached parallel realizations about growth and accountability. Their shared past no longer defined their identities. It informed their decisions quietly. Neither sought reunion nor avoidance, only continued progress shaped by understanding. The rain eventually stopped, leaving the city refreshed beneath clear skies. Similarly, their reflections concluded with calm determination rather than unresolved tension. Life moved forward steadily, guided by lessons learned in silence, proving that private maturity often becomes the most meaningful victory after public mistakes fade into memory. The weeks following their quiet reflections brought new routines for Daniel. He began waking earlier, choosing morning walks over late-night work sessions. The city felt different at sunrise, calmer and less demanding. These walks gave him space to think without pressure or noise. He realized how rarely he had allowed himself stillness before. Small lifestyle changes slowly improved his clarity and focus. Rather than chasing constant achievement, he started appreciating steady progress. The simple act of slowing down revealed that balance is not weakness, but a strength often overlooked. Amaka also embraced new habits, dedicating early hours to sketching fresh design concepts before opening her studio. The quiet mornings became her creative sanctuary, allowing ideas to flow without interruption. She noticed how discipline strengthened inspiration instead of restricting it. Each sunrise symbolized another opportunity rather than a reminder of the past. Her confidence grew naturally through consistency. These routines created stability that supported both her personal and professional life. She understood that growth thrives when structure and creativity work together rather than competing for attention. Though unaware of each other's daily changes, their routines mirrored similar intentions. Both sought clarity through simplicity and discovered strength in consistency. These quiet adjustments demonstrated how transformation rarely appears dramatic. It unfolds gradually through repeated actions. The absence of chaos created space for understanding. They learned that rebuilding life does not require grand gestures, only steady commitment to healthier patterns. In different corners of the same city, two individuals moved forward with renewed awareness, guided by intention instead of impulse, and by reflection instead of regret. Daniel received an invitation to speak at a youth leadership seminar, an opportunity he initially considered declining. Public speaking no longer excited him as it once had. However, he accepted, deciding that sharing honest experiences could provide value. During his speech, he focused on responsibility and decision-making rather than achievements. The audience responded with thoughtful questions and genuine appreciation. He realized authenticity connected more deeply than polished success stories. This realization strengthened his confidence in vulnerability, proving that honesty often builds stronger influence than carefully constructed images. Amaka, on the same day, hosted a small workshop for aspiring designers in her studio. She shared practical advice about creativity, budgeting, and client communication. The session felt informal yet impactful, filled with curiosity and encouragement. Watching participants engage reminded her how far she had come. She recognized that teaching reinforced her own knowledge while inspiring others. The workshop ended with gratitude and enthusiasm, leaving her energized. She discovered that sharing experience multiplies its value, transforming personal growth into collective progress that extends beyond individual achievements. Both events highlighted a shared evolution toward guidance and contribution. Without realizing it, Daniel and Amaka had shifted from seeking recognition to offering support. Their efforts reflected maturity shaped by lessons learned privately. Public platforms became spaces for honesty rather than validation. These moments revealed how influence can emerge naturally when individuals focus on service instead of applause. Growth continued quietly, reinforced by actions that benefited others. Their separate paths aligned in purpose, showing that meaningful progress often appears through generosity of knowledge and sincere engagement. A chance encounter nearly occurred when Daniel visited a newly renovated hotel lobby for a meeting, unaware it was designed by Amaka's firm. He admired the elegance of the space, noticing thoughtful details that felt both modern and warm. The design impressed him deeply, though he did not know its creator immediately. The experience reminded him how artistry communicates without introductions. He left the lobby with quiet admiration, appreciating how creativity can influence emotions subtly. The moment reinforced his respect for talent wherever it appeared, independent of personal history. Later, Amaka received positive feedback from the hotel management about guest reactions to the lobby design. She felt satisfied knowing her work created comfort for strangers she would never meet. The praise encouraged her team, strengthening their sense of achievement. She valued this impact more than personal recognition, believing design should enhance experiences quietly. Each successful project reinforced her confidence without altering her humility. She understood that meaningful work speaks for itself, reaching people without requiring direct acknowledgement or public celebration. Although they did not cross paths directly, The near encounter symbolized how their lives continued to intersect through influence rather than interaction. Their efforts shaped shared spaces and shared communities without intentional overlap. This invisible connection illustrated the subtle ways past relationships leave traces without dominating the present. Life moved forward with quiet coincidences rather than dramatic reunions. Their journeys demonstrated that closure does not always require conversation. Sometimes it emerges through acceptance and the recognition that separate progress can still contribute to a shared environment. Daniel began journaling in the evenings, documenting thoughts and lessons gained from daily experiences. Writing allowed him to organize emotions and recognize patterns he previously ignored. He noticed how reflection reduced impulsive decisions and strengthened clarity. The practice became a quiet habit that supported emotional balance. Through words on paper, he acknowledged growth without self-criticism. This simple discipline reinforced accountability while encouraging patience. He learned that understanding oneself requires consistent honesty, and that personal development often begins with the willingness to observe rather than immediately react. Amaka, meanwhile, started compiling a portfolio of her projects, reviewing designs from her earliest sketches to recent accomplishments. The collection reminded her of progress achieved through persistence. She appreciated how each stage reflected improvement rather than imperfection. This review strengthened her confidence and motivated future goals. Instead of dwelling on what once hurt her, she focused on what she had built. The portfolio became more than a professional tool. It symbolized resilience and dedication, proving that steady effort can transform uncertainty into measurable achievement. Both journaling and portfolio building reflected similar intentions, understanding growth through documentation. These quiet practices demonstrated how self-awareness deepens when experiences are examined thoughtfully. Neither Daniel nor Amaka sought validation through these habits. They pursued clarity instead. Their reflections reinforced independence from past mistakes while honoring lessons learned. The parallel routines highlighted how maturity involves intentional review rather than avoidance. Through written words and collected designs, they strengthened confidence quietly, showing that progress becomes clearer when individuals choose to observe their journeys with honesty and patience. As another year approached, Daniel felt a sense of calm, unfamiliar, yet welcome. His company remained stable, but success no longer defined his identity entirely. He valued relationships, balance, and thoughtful choices more than applause. The lessons from past mistakes had reshaped his priorities, guiding him toward measured decisions. He understood that growth is continuous, not complete. Instead of chasing recognition, he pursued purpose. This shift brought quiet satisfaction, proving that maturity often appears when ambition aligns with awareness and when achievements coexist with humility. Amaka also entered the new year with confidence and clarity. Her studio flourished, supported by teamwork and creativity. She embraced future goals without rushing them, trusting her abilities and experience. The independence she once fought to establish now felt natural and secure. She carried gratitude rather than resentment, recognizing how challenges had strengthened her resolve. Each new opportunity became a step forward rather than an escape from the past. Her journey reflected resilience shaped by patience, demonstrating that self-trust grows stronger when nurtured through consistent action. Though their paths remained separate, Daniel and Amaka shared an invisible conclusion rooted in understanding. Public choices once defined their story, but private growth defined its ending. Neither sought reunion nor revenge. Both chose progress. The applause that once influenced decisions faded into distant memory, replaced by steady self-awareness. Their lives moved forward independently yet peacefully, guided by lessons learned in silence. In different spaces, they embraced clarity and balance, proving that true resolution often arrives not through dramatic endings, but through quiet and lasting personal transformation. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe and put on post notifications.